Taylor Decker's on my All-22 fantasy team, by the way.
Stop it. Nobody cares.
Taylor,
I don't care, and I'm in the league.
I'm just trying to hype up the future of fantasy football here. They told me we could hype it up.
Nobody cares about your fantasy team. That's one of the
It's
cardinal
my
rules
way.
of broadcasting. Regardless of the medium, they don't care.
So the strategic component to this game is through the roof.
Your predictions, right? Your forecasting in fantasy football into how good is this player.
It's gonna change the industry.
Yeah, I moved to the old town where it goes down. Look at me now. I wrote my goals down. I hold it down. Made myself proud. Say, look at me now. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the All-22 podcast. My name is Chris Lombardi, and I'm joined by Bobby Acker and Ray Cotto, and we are the co-founders of All-22. Guys, with only a week and a half left before the NFL season, there is no time like the present to sign up for All-22 with coupon code RUSH22. That's all caps, RUSH22. That'll give you 80% off a one-year membership of All-22. That's only $9.99 for a one-year membership of All-22. So if you haven't done so already and you're listening to this podcast, it doesn't make a lot of sense, so get in there and sign up. We released that yesterday, guys. It went pretty well, right? We got a lot of positive reception to that.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, the reception we did get. Yeah, you guys listening are awesome. Yeah, really cool to see lots of people loving the platform, filling up some of the last remaining public leagues that we see available in the lobbies now and getting to drafting. It's definitely draft season, so really cool to see.
Yeah, we're a lot better than Madden. Like, it's a way cooler platform than Madden. Like, I downloaded the new one. I go to play franchise mode. It's just the same thing. It's just the same thing. $10, you get a game that's going to be new and awesome every year. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. So glad to have everybody that's new and excited to get started. And
like you said, Bobby, we are different. So there are enough drafts finally completed where we can make a true ADP. This is the first time in fantasy football you're going to get an ADP that includes offensive linemen and defensive players that actually reflect true performance, right? You're not just getting guys that get a lot of tackles and a lot of playing time, but are terrible otherwise. This ADP is actually reflective of the true NFL. So we ran those numbers for the first time. They finally were released on the live site, and now we want to try to unpack some of that. So, guys, we're going to start with the top 10 picks with ADP, and starting actually with the top 5. So, top 5, we had Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, and Russ as our top 5 before we did this. With the ADP, we're showing that it's Burrow, Allen, Herbert over Mahomes, and Russ. So, guys, people are thinking that Herbert is the pick over Mahomes. Do we agree or do we disagree?
Completely disagree with that, but that's fine. I think people are a little thrown off with, like, there's like that recency bias. Like, you see Pat Mahomes is great last year, not as great as it was before. You see, like, he loses Tyreek Hill, and, like, I don't know. I think people are playing too much into that. Which is fine. That's your strategy. It's fine.
No, it's gone too far, and it's not fine. He's still Pat Mahomes. We're talking about Pat Mahomes here. Like, his down year was still very good, and he finished very well still. It's gone too far, and he's not a weapons-dependent talent.
Right. We've seen too many quarterbacks lose their number one guy and have better years the year after for you to be so worried about Tyreek Hill being that guy. So, yeah, I think the consensus here is that we still stick with our initial evaluation. It should be Mahomes over Herbert, but the people have spoken and they want Herbert. So after that top 5, guys, we had quarterbacks, right? Oh, you have something else here.
Before we go out of the top 5, I just want to say something real quick. I was right about Russell Wilson. Okay, you guys wanted to put him, like, I think Chris, you wanted him, like, outside of the top 15, which was, like, just unreal. But, like, you guys wanted him much lower than he was. I had to fight to get him to 7, and here he is at 5. The community agrees with me, guys. You guys are wrong. I got outvoted, and look where we are.
If we want to really have that conversation, we'll talk about the next guy on the list, which is Deshaun Watson, who I got outvoted on. Right, we put him at 6. I think I wanted him at like 10. And guess where he's getting taken, guys?
You were right now, right? But then I feel like if we were drafting then before knowing about the 11-game suspension and all that stuff, you would have been wrong. Absolutely.
I would have been wrong. Okay. So he's getting taken 36th. Just a heads up, people out there. Deshaun Watson's getting taken 36. We had him as our number 6 quarterback. And guys, what happened to the quarterbacks, right? So like, is there really that big of a drop off after Russell Wilson where guys are saying we don't need one in the first round. We'll take other talent and we'll wait on the quarterback. Do we think that's a good strategy?
I think
I know what's going on, but go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
Yeah, I actually don't hate the strategy, but I would start it a little later. So if I have a late pick in the first like 9 or 10, I get saying, all right, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to take the top edge guy or like Myles Garrett or something, right? And getting a quarterback later. I just think if you're drafting earlier than that, you still have guys like Dak. If you're a Kyler guy, which I'm not, but you have Kyler, you have Aaron Rodgers. Kirk Cousins grades very well. People don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit it. I don't like it, but he does really well in this format. I'm not sure I'm passing those guys up. I think the teardrop is maybe after those 8 or so guys and not after, Russell Wilson at 5th or 6th. So I think people are going a little bit too early on the, anything but quarterback strategy there in the first round. But I get where they're coming from.
I agree with you, Ray. I don't think it's a bad strategy at all because you can get guys like Matt Stafford later and stuff like that. Like there's other ways you can do it. Like we saw Lamar Jackson was like pushed down to 138 overall. But like what I think's happening is like everybody that's been playing this game and drafting, they've been salivating about the idea of drafting tackles and edge rushers since February, right? They're just so excited to do it that they're just like, F the quarterbacks. I've got these guys on all my other platforms. Now I can finally get an offensive lineman. I'm going to do it right now. I'm not going to wait. That's what's happening. That's a fact.
Could be right. I think to Ray's point, right, Kirk Cousins is one of 3 quarterbacks to have an 80 PFF grade in 3 consecutive seasons. He is going as the 111th player in startup drafts. So we're talking about like really deep falls, right? So Watson, we had at 6, is going 36. Kyler, we had at 7, is going about 14. Aaron Rodgers, we had 8, is going 22. And then Cousins, we had 9, is going 111th. And the people replacing them are the edge rushers, guys. So the young edge rushers are flying up the board. Guys that we had like in the teens are Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, TJ Watt, and Nick Bosa. But those are the guys going 6, 7, 8, 9 in these drafts. So you guys are saying you agree with this strategy. Not that you agree, but it's not a bad strategy, right? If you want to fade quarterbacks and get a Matthew Stafford later on, that allows you to get a Myles Garrett, a Max Crosby, a Watt, a Bosa now.
Yeah, I respect those who pull it off because sometimes, like even just talking about it, it's like I'm not sure I have the guts to do it if I'm picking like 6th. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those deals where it's safe to go QB, but yeah, you can pull it off. Great. I think some of the players, right, you start digging a little bit deeper and it's like, okay, the Bosas kind of do this thing where they miss like 4 games at a time every now and again, whenever they get nicked up, right? They like really protect their bodies and stuff. So you might see, if you take a non-quarterback that high and they miss time, it's going to really hurt you during the season. You're going to feel that difference during those games. So you are putting your neck out there when you do this.
There was a guy on Twitter. He posted his whole team, right? And I went and read through it because I was really curious to see what he did. And at the end of it, I'm like, this is a really good team. But there's no quarterback. The guy went 20-something rounds without a quarterback. I even commented, I'm like, dude, what is your plan? He messaged me back like the next day and like showed his quarterback room. It was pretty good. It was like really good. So there is a way to pull it off. There's leagues where you can do it. I don't recommend it. But this guy went a little extreme, but it's super interesting.
The way I think I would do it, and like I'm okay with passing on a quarterback in the first round if you want to try to get one of those top edge rushers that you think are going to get taken by teams on the come around, but like not getting one in the 2nd round or the 3rd round, like
that's scary.
That's so scary. And like guys like Rodgers, Brady, and I hate to say it again, but like Kirk Cousins are going to grade really well. So if you get that top edge rusher and can add on one of those top playing quarterbacks, even if they're a little older, like you're putting yourself in a championship window. So like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to wait. Like I was messing with Ray because I know Ray in our league, he has Lamar and Trevor Lawrence, right? And like seemingly good quarterbacks, but they haven't graded particularly well in a couple of years on Lamar's side, and Trevor hasn't yet in the NFL. So, you know, like Ray's team could be great, but that's 10% of his team, his starting lineup, that's not going to be grading so well every week, right? And that's a huge dip in scoring.
Yeah, talk about rolling the dice.
I respect
I can't do it.
I respect it.
I respect it. I just can't do it myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And after those top 5 quarterbacks, we said Rodgers and Murray are going in like the teens or the 20s, but it's after that, right? Watson, Cousins, Dak, Stafford, Tannehill, Mac Jones, Carr, Lamar, and Trevor Lawrence, guys that we had either in the top 10 or in the top 20 that are falling into the hundreds, right? So those guys will be available for you is what we're seeing. So if you do want to wait, it seems like that's kind of the consensus is people are waiting on these quarterbacks. So that might be a strategy you want to do. But there is one quarterback that actually climbed up in rankings, and that is a guy we all know and love, Mr. Tom Brady. He went from QB 18 in our ranking to QB 12. That man is 45-year-old Tom Brady, right? And it's actually a trend we're seeing all across ADP is that people aren't so concerned about age. We thought they would be. We thought we'd be seeing those young players, those young, even rookies that are getting taken much earlier than we had projected them. We thought we were being a little conservative there, but it turns out people don't mind age, right? Brady is getting taken much earlier. We see 32-year-old Travis Kelce, who we had ranked 232nd, going 138th. 31-year-old Zach Martin, we had him at 176. He's going 101. 33-year-old Cam Hayward, we had him at 189. He's going 106. So guys, like, how do you consider age when you're doing a draft?
I mean, you're going for the 1 year. You're saying, all right, I'm going to take a position player, first round, second round, whatever it is, and then get Brady for 1 year and then figure it out after, because Brady's going to play at a top 5 level. It just might be for 1 more year. He already retired this year. He already retired. So he's probably going to retire again, but you get him for a year at, probably top 5 level play. See if you win it all, I guess. So I get it for Tom Brady. I do not ever plan on or go into a draft thinking I'm going to take a 34-year-old, defensive interior player. And Cam Hayward's been great. I mean, you look at his performances the last 4 years, he's hovering in the 80s and maybe even low 90s for his season grades overall. He's super consistent, but that is not a position where you see players play well into their 30s. They really start to drop off. Guard's a different story. I didn't even realize Zach Martin was already 31 years old, but he is, I guess. So I get it if you're taking a guard. Tight ends last a little bit longer than you would think, but a defensive interior player, I don't know. I can't take Cam Hayward that high. You look at the 3 defensive interior players we had going before him in our rankings. That's Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Christian Barmore. And then the 3 after Cam Hayward, we had Leonard Williams, Ed Oliver, and Zach Seiler. I'm taking maybe 4 of those names ahead of Cam Hayward. And if I'm not in love with any of the defensive interior players there when I'm on the board, I'm probably just going with a different position before I take Cam Hayward in the 10th round. It's not that he's done anything to warrant fading. His production has still been very good, but their production is always good until it isn't because you got old. And when you're turning 34, it's probably around the time you're going to start to look old. So I'm just staying away in that instance.
I am all for building the back half of your team with guys that are going to be productive, right? So if you think maybe there's not that young talent that you want to take a risk on towards the end of your draft, and instead you want to get a guy like Jordan Davis early on, but then get a Cam Hayward that you can start right away, I'm all for that. But spending a top 20 pick on a guy that you might only get for 1 year is you're playing with fire, right? You're playing with fire. I can't do that.
You're also essentially spending 2 top 20 picks on that guy because you have to go and get the guy to replace him next year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're investing twice in him.
It's very true. It's very true. And so there's one other older player that we actually got, it's the one player in the whole thing, right? I looked at all of our rankings, all of the ADP rankings. There's one player that we got exactly right. That is our boy, Trent Williams. We had him 15th overall. He is getting drafted 15th overall. Do you think, I mean, I guess we all think that's a good place for him, but do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I put him there. That was me that put him in. That's my ranking.
So taking Rashawn Slater probably before him, but I get it. And offensive tackles last a while, so that's why he's up there. But then again, you're talking a difference of probably, instead of a 1 year window, maybe it's a 2 or 3 tops. It's still a short window. You still have to plan your replacement. It's not like, oh, offensive tackles last a long time, so I'm just going to take Trent Williams and move on. Like, no, you still have to plan for the replacement and the fill-in the future, because it is coming, and those years go by pretty quick.
Yeah, well, Ray, you touched on one thing. You said you wouldn't take Trent Williams, but when we look at our rankings, right, the three of us, obviously it might not have been you that said this, but our rankings collectively was that we had Joe Burrow as quarterback number 1, we had Jonathan Taylor as running back number 1, Mark Andrews as tight end number 1, Justin Jefferson receiver number 1, Trent Williams tackle number 1, Onwenu guard, Creed Humphrey was the center, Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, Jalen Ramsey, and Derwin James. So those were our top players per position. That is exactly who has been taken as the top player per position based on ADP. So it seems like we did do a good job there. Not many people seem to have disagreed with that.
We know a thing or two. Yeah.
That's just to toot our own horns right there. That's all that was.
Not bad, guys. Not bad.
All right. And then looking at rookies, right? So, people aren't doing rookie drafts yet, although if you did play in a league last year, that is now available. So reach out if you are ready to do your rookie draft. But in just normal startup drafts, right, the rookies, like we wanted to look at where they're actually being drafted and who's going first. So when we look at that, right, our top 25 rookies being taken based on ADP, there was not a single quarterback on that list. So in the 25, there was no quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett is not being taken. Interesting, Trayvon Walker, right? He was the first player taken in the NFL draft. We're seeing Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau taken above him. Guys, do you agree with, I guess, all of those sentiments so far?
Yeah. You go back to our pre-draft episodes about this too, but yeah, not a problem there at all.
I mean, even leading into the draft, right? Like KT and Aiden Hutchinson were the household names too. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's probably what you're seeing there as a result of that. And then when Trayvon Walker did kind of get introduced as the household name, as the first overall pick potentially, I mean, myself included, people were saying what a horrible idea that is, right? Like that was like the whole narrative around Trayvon Walker being picked number 1. So I feel like what we're seeing here in ADP is kind of a result of that.
Yeah, I'm curious as we track it now that the preseason has started and we've gotten to see some play if that changes, because I think initial observations is that he's playing pretty well. I think his PFF grade with his first 2 performances has been pretty high. So I'm curious if that perception starts to change, if we see him just start to rise. But yeah, so just the top 5 guys, right? It was Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Stingley's going 2nd, Kayvon Thibodeau 3rd, Sauce Gardner is 4, and then Trayvon Walker. Those are the top 5, all defensive players. Besides that, so another thing about the top 25, I kind of want to make the contrast here. So in an all-22 draft, we're seeing the top 25 rookies taken. 23 of them are first-round picks, right? There's only 2 guys going in that top 25 that are second-round picks, and that's Breece Hall and Sky Moore. When you're doing a normal fantasy draft, it's the complete opposite, right? If you're doing a dynasty draft, doesn't matter. It's the complete opposite, right? You're drafting undrafted free agent running backs in some dynasty drafts, right? So like, I think that's just goes to, we're making this as realistic to the NFL experience as possible. And I think this is a great way to represent that as well.
We did our rookie draft, some of it today, you guys. And just to let everybody know what happened in ours, first running back wasn't taken until round 5, pick 2. That's so refreshing to see. Like, I love that. I don't know about you guys, but that's awesome.
I do love that. And thinking about that, right? So like 4 rounds, that's 48 picks. That means that he's going maybe like around pick 43 to 50. And that's where running backs have been going in NFL drafts, right? Where did Breece Hall go in the NFL draft? He went in middle of the second
36.
round, right? Okay, early second round. So that's just about right. So yeah, gotta love that. Gotta love how realistic that is there. Anything else you guys wanted to point out with the rookies?
I think our users are doing the right thing by not taking the rookie quarterbacks. I mean, I think it just goes to show how that class ended up, and still don't know what the heck the Steelers were thinking. But yeah, it's just a very weak quarterback class this past year. So just more reason to make sure you have a plan in place already for quarterback during your startups, because I doubt a rookie's going to bail you out this season. So you might have to be looking towards the future if you do not shore up your quarterback room by the end of your startup draft.
Yeah. Why waste the pick when you have a $300 blind bid budget? You could just, if it's Desmond Ridder gets to start first, or Kenny Pickett, whatever, just go all in on one of those guys. Because if you need them, chances are, like you're saying, Ray, you're not going to be in great shape anyway. So maybe get them then, build up your quarterback room. But I'm not wasting any of my 53 on, or at least any of my early 53s on those guys.
Yeah, and it's I think like what we're saying is it's an anomaly though, right? Like in a normal year where there's quarterbacks going in the top 5 picks of the NFL draft, like those are going to be the first guys taken in an all-22 rookie draft, and they will go, highly in a startup draft.
Yeah, we had a bunch of them last year. I remember everybody was jumping on the rookie quarterbacks pretty early, and even in the startup drafts too. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, those guys weren't sitting there very long, which is really the way it should be.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Just a weird year. Yep.
Then one other thing to point out. So if you have the question, this is offensive linemen are included for the first time. You haven't said anything about the rookie offensive linemen. So they went 13, 14, 19, 20, and 24. So Evan Neal was the first tackle taken off at 13. Akeem Ekwonu was the second one at 14. Oh, I'm sorry. And then Tyler Linderbaum is in there as well. Zion Johnson, Charles Cross, and then Kenyon Green. So a lot of offensive linemen in there getting taken in the top 25 picks. Again, just like in the real NFL draft. So gotta love that.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny seeing like the interior guys get it, like Linderbaum, Kenyon Green, kind of get floated up there, maybe even above some of the tackles. Like people are taking into account like that position scarcity too, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And definitely some opportunities there. Like, Charles Cross, who was my guy, went to a team that doesn't have a lot of talent around him. So maybe like you're fading him a little bit, where Tyler Linderbaum, right, he goes to the Ravens, and you just have to have a lot of faith in what the Ravens are doing and how he's going to impact that run game. So, he's climbing up the rankings, and yeah, again, just like love seeing that, love talking about it too.
Yeah, really cool.
Cool, guys. This was a short one. If we have nothing else, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. If you haven't done so yet, I'm just going to say it again. Visit all-22.com. Sign up with code RUSH22. That gives you a $9.99 membership for 1 year. And we are live. Get in there and sign up as quickly as you can. We're giving these spots away for the first 222 people that sign up. So, a week and a half to go. So get in there while you can. Give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at all22_PFF. And then leave us a review for this podcast on YouTube, Apple, or whichever platform you listen to. And thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.